Good afternoon, brethren. I'd like to spend a few minutes discussing the latest political events. It's really a shame that I can't put my comments up on our website because we're a tax-exempt organization. So I'm going to do it just amongst us. This will be an unpublished exhortation. It's really interesting to see the spiritual aspect of what is going on politically. And what I see going on politically is emphasizing what the Lord has taught me about multiple potentials and different streams of potential all crossing over each other, and what happens, what is in potential that concretizes, that becomes reality here. There's a war going on. Not only do we have multiple potentials in the spiritual realm, but there's a warfare going on that's being affected, or that is affecting and is being affected by what goes on amongst people. So it's just very interesting, and I'd just like to give you my latest insight. I had held an opinion for quite a while that Romney was supposed to be elected and if Romney was elected, he would be the Antichrist because of the white horse prophecy that came forth through the Mormon Church, and is still very well known through the Mormon Church, that in the time that now the Mormons are constitutionalists. They're Masons, but they're constitutionalists. They're nationalists. Well, that's really hard to say because they are in the Illuminati. But from what I understand, nothing is black or white. Yes, they're in the Illuminati, but from what I understand, they're very nationalist, and therefore very pro-Constitution. How you can be like that and be in the Illuminati also, I don't have the answer to that question. But the white horse prophecy exists, that at the exact moment that the Constitution is about to be completely overthrown and American sovereignty completely destroyed, a Mormon will be elected as president, and he will save the nation, and then the nation will become Mormon. That's the white horse prophecy. So I have believed for many years that Romney was the Antichrist, and that if he were elected, that he would be the Antichrist that would save the country and then try to turn it into a theocracy and force everybody to be Mormon or something like that. So when Romney dropped out of the race, I said, well, isn't that interesting, see? And I think at that time, I was still thinking in terms of, well, I must be wrong. I must have been wrong. But today I understand, no, it's not a question of being wrong or right. There is free will in this world, and there is free will in this nation, and there is free will amongst God's people, and He is watching, okay? The fact that you have free will doesn't mean that you're making the right decision, but you have free will to make the wrong decision if you want to, and then you have to pay the consequences. So today I understand that was not wrong. Well, Romney didn't run, and so I guess I was wrong that Romney was going to be president and he would be the Antichrist. And then also, I've heard of this prophecy, which is not as widespread as the white horse prophecy, that someone who went to Pastor Profeta's church prophesied years before Barack Obama was ever even a possibility of being elected, prophesied that the one who's elected president after the black man becomes president, would be the Antichrist. So those two prophecies are swimming around in my mind, and I'm watching very carefully, watching the scene. So of course, with that question in my mind, I say, wow, could Trump be the Antichrist? And I pray about it, and I look at the man, and I just cannot see him being the Antichrist. Of course, I could be wrong, but I just can't see it. So I didn't know what to do with that prophecy. And I wake up this morning, and I realize what I just told you, that these are all potentials, and there are powers in the heavenlies and in the earth that would like to, each having in their own camp, that would like to bring their prophecy to pass. They would like Romney to be president so that they could, because to be the Antichrist, you need to be possessed. Okay? So, and as soon as he was elected, he would be possessed and become the Antichrist. Then there's a possibility that the president, the one who's elected president after the black man, which we now know to be Barack Obama, would be the Antichrist. And then there's the possibility that Trump will be elected and he's not the Antichrist. And all of these potentials are swimming around impacting each other, and it's just very exciting to see what is going on. So for those of you who are not aware that Romney is back in the potential running, just really floored me, okay? So this is the latest rumor mill, but these rumors, to me, are more than rumors, especially since Romney got into the act and started attacking Trump. Any politician that gets into the act and attacks the front runner means that they're planning on at least considering coming out and contending with them to take the position of front runner or the whole nomination away. So this is the scuttlebutt that's coming from some insiders that pretty much know what they're talking about, that the establishment is just absolutely panic-stricken that they cannot stop Trump. The man just appears to be unstoppable. The last debate was horrendous. Did anybody here see the last debate? It was just horrendous. Rubio was absolutely horrendously ugly. The spirit on him was disgusting. The words that he said, he suggested that Trump wet his pants, was disgusting. To even suggest such a thing in a presidential debate. The problem is that Trump has really opened himself to that because he calls people names, and he actually, I think, talked about Rubio sweating a lot, which I would hope he wouldn't do that, but he does it. But how do you compare suggesting that a presidential candidate wet his pants to saying that someone sweats a lot? You know, it really, Trump is wrong, but Rubio was just disgusting. And the whole spirit on him, the whole attack spirit, see, this was just really ugly. So I understood at the time that this was Rubio's last chance, because the polls were something like 38% for Trump and 21% for Rubio, maybe no more than 22% for Rubio, and 20% for CRUZ. So, and we're going into this Tuesday, Super Tuesday. There are quite a few states that are voting. So it was Rubio's last chance to knock out Trump. And what was the result of, and of course the moderators didn't help any, but it was really disgraceful. It was really disgraceful. And I have to say this, you know, brethren, right now I'm for Trump only because I believe that he's God's man. You know, I am not, my opinion is not set in stone. I want God's man. So right now I'm for Trump because I believe that he's God's man. And I have to say this in just a spirit of fairness, that when Trump, when he says these things, like the guy's sweating or whatever, I wish he wouldn't do it, but he does it. But there's no viciousness in it. It's not a vicious spirit. I wish he wouldn't do it, and I think that it's wrong, but it's not a vicious spirit. Well, Rubio came up with such a vicious spirit, and I believe that it was an immature spirit. I couldn't believe my eyes the way he was, and what I wanted to say, Trump, usually he just says it when someone attacks him. That's what he comes back with. I'm not justifying it, but that's what he comes back with, and it's not vicious. Rubio just hit for the lower, just hit for the below the belt, without even being provoked, and he was obviously just trying to take the man out. It was terrible, and the people in the audience were screaming and cheering and whistling. It was like the Roman games. It was just horrible. So it was his last chance. And what do you think happened? What do you think happened? What do you think happened? With the polls. What do you think happened with the polls?
Polls probably went up.
For who?
For Trump.
Yeah. He went from 38% to 44. He took, well, and Rubio went down to 14, so he took the 6 points from Rubio. Went up to 44.7. He's pressing on 45%, you know. So that was what happened anyway. So now Rubio, you know, again the rumor mill, but the rumor mill by insiders, is that Rubio is the candidate for the establishment. And he really has a bad record, Rubio. He's hardly shown up to vote in all of the, as a senator, he really has a bad record. He really pushed for open borders and immigration. But aside from that, it appears he's the establishment's candidate. So he's losing. Now he's down to 14%. CRUZ is at a steady 20%, and Rubio's down to 14%. He utterly destroyed himself. So the rumor is that the establishment might throw Romney into the game. Because first, months ago I was saying, well, they might, I'm sorry, just for the second I got it mixed up with the Democrats, that the establishment might throw Romney back into the game, see? And that's going to be very interesting, because here is that, now I thought I was wrong. Well, Romney, this was like 4 months ago. Well, I thought I was wrong. Romney's not going to be the next president. And I thought, I was just wrong, but no, I wasn't wrong. All of these potentials are just swimming around, and now this one is coming to the surface again. So we might very well see a Romney-Trump contention, because I don't think CRUZ is going anywhere. He's holding at a steady 20%. I don't think he's going anywhere. No. Right now, the CRUZ and CRUZ and Rubio together could not overtake Trump. Because together, even before Rubio went down to 14%, together they were like 43% or 42%, and Trump was already 44%, I guess. Well, he was 44%. So how can I say he went up 6 points? At this time, the two of them together couldn't have. In other words, if one of them dropped out and thought he would take all of the voters of the other guy, they still couldn't overtake Trump at this time. So that's very interesting to see what's happening. And the establishment is really out to destroy Trump, and they're seriously considering, if they cannot defeat him in the primaries, they're seriously considering putting up a third candidate, which is the same thing as voting for the Democrats. So I put the issue before the Lord, because if they do, if they want Trump out that badly that they put up a third-party candidate, it would take supernatural power for Trump to win. And maybe that's the way the Lord wants to do it. Maybe he wants his hand to be shown, unless God is turning us over, to Hillary, or if Trump is the Antichrist, turning us over to the Antichrist. But I've really prayed about it. I cannot see that he's the Antichrist. So I went before the Lord with the other prophecy, well, that the president after the black president is going to be the Antichrist. And the answer that I got is that, yes, that it came from out of someone, I'm not saying the man wasn't a strong Christian. It came out of, the prophecy that's in the church today is Netzach Hod. It came out of Netzach Hod. And every prophecy that comes out of Netzach Hod is conditional. See? The prophecies of the prophets, which are not conditional, come out of Bina. The prophecies that are not conditional come out of Bina. So the prophecy came out of someone in the church. It came out of Netzach Hod. It's conditional. And the Lord said, if I want to override that prophecy, I can override it. If the Lord decides that Antichrist is not going to come in, but that he's going to use the system to save us. And that was the question I had for him yesterday. And this is my understanding. Either the Lord is going to use the system to save us by putting his man in office, or he's going to have to bring judgment on the whole nation, destructive judgment to save us. So my prayer is that the Lord saves us through the system by putting someone that he can work with into the presidency. And does anybody know who recently endorsed Trump? How are you people going to vote if you don't stay up on the... You need to at least be reading the headlines, okay? Christie has endorsed Trump. And I have a great piece about that. I've always liked Christie. He's a very tough man, and he seems to have a spirit of righteousness. He's a very tough man. But I sort of backed away from him because he's too progressive for me. He's for Common Core, and he's just too progressive for me. But again, with regard to this election, I understand that we need to be choosing someone who's going to save the country politically, and domestic policies, or let me say national policy trumps domestic policy. Nobody's going to be perfect. So I would love to see Christie as Attorney General, United States Attorney General. He would put Hillary in jail, and he'd be suing, he'd be prosecuting all of these wicked people. He probably would be prosecuting Bill Clinton too. So I'm very, very excited to see Chris Christie endorsing Donald Trump. You know, Sarah Palin seems to have fallen away. I think that was a mistake, so he sort of dropped her after Iowa. But I'm really excited about Chris Christie. So we'll see what happens, brethren. I just wanted to make sure that you were up on this, and I really encourage you. Brethren, you're supposed to be sons of God. You know, you need to know what's going on in the country. At least read the headlines, do something. You shouldn't be relying only on me. I guess I don't like to rebuke you. I guess that's a mild rebuke, but you will bear the consequences of your involvement. You know, I don't know what those consequences be. I don't know. What most likely will be the loss of opportunity on some level if you don't educate yourself properly. Well, anyway, I did want to tell you that because those 2 points are so important, that Romney is very close to being back in the race because Rubio's dead. I mean, there's no way he's going to recover from 14%, in my opinion. There's no way he's going to recover. And Trump has a supernatural power propelling him. The question is which supernatural power, but the people have just had it with the establishment, and that's what's going on. They're willing to take a patriot who's going to fight for the country with all of his faults over an establishment man. Okay, and the bottom line is that you cannot run for president without power, without spiritual power, and that spiritual power can come from money. So Rubio's taking all the money from the establishment. CRUZ, his wife is on the Council of Foreign Relations, which is the New World Order, and he's taking loans from Goldman Sachs. He's in bed with the one world government, and I don't know. He's up there saying he's going to do this and he's going to do that, and he goes to sleep every night with the Council of Foreign Relations. I just don't see how. Plus, he's taking millions of dollars from lobbyists. The whole problem is lobbyists. Lobbyists used to be illegal. They're not illegal anymore. They should be illegal. It should be illegal. And oh by the way, Rubio, he bought a house. I may not have the figures exactly right. He bought a house for $15,000, and he sold it. Even if he paid $100,000 for the house, he sold it for $308,000 or $380,000 within a couple of months. A lobbyist bought it from him at like a $200,000 profit. You know that, like Donald Trump said, that should be investigated. That's a bribe. You know. So he's dirty, and there's no sign of Donald Trump having ever been in the Illuminati. It's really strange that a man of his power is not, and maybe he was invited and he said no. It's really strange that a man with his power, he has almost $8 billion, okay, or maybe almost $9 billion, 8-point-something billion dollars, is not in the Council of Foreign Relations, is not a Freemason. There's no sign of him having anything to do with the Illuminati at all. So I have to believe that he was invited and he turned them down. So that's my update for you, and I really encourage you to just go on to Trump and read the headlines, brethren. You need to know what's going on. If you want, see, ascension is not just doctrine. When you ascend, what ascension means is that, for you personally, is that you become a part of the adulthood of the family of God, and the adulthood of the family of God is very involved in politics. So if you want that spiritual ascension, being aware of what's going on and basing your opinion on what's going on is very important, you see. Spiritual ascension means, spiritual manhood means that you rule with your Father, and you rule everywhere that you're involved, and your country is very important. So you don't just have the authority. You have to educate yourself and be involved, or it could limit your ascension. I'm not threatening. I'm trying to educate you. I'm never threatening you. I'm just telling you the truth. You know? Everything is about where your heart is and what is most important to you. See? And I know that I told you in a recent message because I heard it. That God and that God, you see, you could say God is the most important thing in your life. Oh, is He? Is He the most important thing in your life because He meets your need and He takes care of you? Okay, that means you're still a child. Or is He the most important thing in your life and you're growing up to rule with Him? Okay, is He the most important thing in your life because you want His life, because you want His interest, because you want an adult relationship with Him? Or is He the most important thing in your life because you're a child and He brings you lollipops and candy and takes care of you? See? So you have to ask that question. Why you have to ask that question? Because you don't get what you don't want. You only get what you want. See? You only get what you want. And you need to understand that desiring to be adult in the household of God is part of spiritual ascension. See? So if all that you want is you want ascension because you want longevity, what for? What do you want longevity for? What do you want longevity for? So that you can spend more time with your family. Brother, there's nothing wrong with families, but I'm telling you that excuse will cut you off from the possibility of spiritual ascension. You're just not in touch with reality. If you think that you're going to spiritually ascend and go into longevity, and your family is going to be the most important thing in your life, you're going to find out that you're wrong. See? It's not a punishment of any kind. You know, when corporations interview people for a job, if you're wanting spiritual ascension and longevity, you're asking for a job in the management of the kingdom of God. When a corporation or any sizable company interviews someone for a job, the first thing they ask them for is, what are you looking for? What do you want? Are you looking for a 9-to-5 job? Or are you looking for a career? If you're looking for a 9-to-5 job, this job isn't for you. I've been asked questions like, how do you feel about the attorneys you work for yelling at you? Because these guys yell. You don't like it, this job is not for you. See? So I'm trying to help you to understand what you're asking for when you ask for longevity. You can't just want to live longer. The question is, do you want to live longer? What do you want to live longer for? If you want to live longer so that you can have the things of this world, it's not at all likely that you're going to get it. You have to want to live longer because you want to learn, to be in training, to learn how to rule with your Father. And He's very involved in politics, you see. So if you have no interest, and they're right in your file, you see. So-and-so, well, they want to live longer, okay, they want to go into longevity. Why? Well, God is the most important thing in their life. Oh, really? In what way? What do you do? What do you do with your life? Where is the majority of your time spent when you have a conversation with somebody? What conversation do you default to? See? I'm trying to educate you so that you have a better chance to attain your goal. And I'm trying to tell you that you can't desire longevity for yourself. He's only giving longevity for the people that want to rule with Him on every level. See? On every level. That means every step, every incident that happens, if there's any kind of conflict, we're supposed to be a mediating source. See? When you have two sides, how do you become the mediating source? You have to find the mind of God in it. See? And then you have to tell both people that are fighting where they're not in God, because if you're fighting, you're not in God, and help them to get into God. So I want to start another file because I'm starting my message here. So let's start another file.